make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Roar. Roar.
Colonel Ironsides here. 200 years I stood in the gap, fighting those who would harm my country. It was my honor, my sacred duty, so help me God. 9 times they took my life. 9 times I stood back up and made them pay. The freedom fighter I could handle anything, but someone betrayed me. I was ambushed, made mortal, rendered powerless, and retired. They passed an amendment and made me a civilian before I left the hospital. For 50 years I watched my country change. Lost its work while erasing me from history. The day I quit my job, I powered up and discovered they lied about that too. I'll remind them of freedom. I'll remind them of duty. I'll remind them of their oaths of whom they serve. I'll remind them while I'm shoving it down their throats.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Show. The Bunny is Thinking. I'm going to talk to you about this is in some ways a very tragic story, but in some ways it's kind of interesting in the way that in one way it's a tragedy, but in another it's about a human being who basically lived their life a certain way and basically gained fame in a way, the only way that would have been appropriate for her. And it seems a little bit odd to say that you could have both a tragedy and a triumph at almost in the same sentence, but in this case, this is this lovely lady named Eva Cassidy. Now, I back when I first met my friend Craig Davis, Drunk Craig, who I just lost back in July. We were kind of like trading things that we found impressive. We were on YouTube and we were like trading off, oh, you think that's awesome, watch this, right? Hold on, got a wow, is this lovely gentleman an American? Yes I am. Southern American, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Anthony Gibson, for asking. Um, but I guess some people in America won't consider me American, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so we were like trading off some things, and I showed him Catherine McPhee, uh, one of the uh, one of the seasons of, I think it was The Voice, maybe. No, it was American Idol. But Catherine McPhee, she did this version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow that was just, it was soaring, and it was really interesting arrangement that just was amazing to me. And so I showed it to my friend, and he's like, "Wow, she's got some nice pipes." He says, "Unfortunately, that's Eva Cassidy's version." And I'm like, "Eva Cassidy? Who is Eva Cassidy?" And he's like, "Exactly." And so that night we went down a rabbit hole, a very interesting rabbit hole. Um, and he started out with telling me that in the DC area, right in the early 90s, there was this young blonde girl. Uh, she wasn't like a supermodel attractive. She was attractive, but she wasn't like um going to be selling any ads attractive. But she had this voice, this incredible voice that just any genre she covered, any song that she interpreted became something new, became something entirely different. Uh, so much so that she didn't really write her own music, and yet it feels like she was she wrote all these songs that she was interpreting. And he played me song after song after song, including that version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I had to agree with him. We played them side by side, and I was like, wow, Ava Cassidy kicked her butt. I mean, it was incredible. It was ethereal. It was warm, and had this sense of longing in it. And she had this amazing ability to play with the emotions that of the hearer, just exactly. I mean, it's the same way that she was playing with the pitches of the song, of the notes that she was singing. And I'd never seen anything like it, and I still have it. When you hear greatest female vocalist ever, you get the usual. You get the Aretha Franklins, you get the Whitney Houstons. If you want to go back further, you will get people like Patsy Cline will be brought up. Dolly Parton gets brought up. She's an amazing vocalist. Adele, somebody more new. And but in those numbers of all of them, if you were to stack this lone woman in that just never got above the club level in DC area, who was revered by all the musicians in the area that were in awe of her, and yet she did not make an impact while she was alive. She died very young, of tragically. She had melanoma. She was an outdoors girl. One of the jobs that she did was she worked at a nursery. That's basically how she paid her bills. So she was outside all the time. That's why her hair was so sun bleached. And during the course of that, she got melanoma, and it went untreated, and it metastasized. And so by the time she started getting soreness in her hips, and she went to the doctor, but by then it was like stage 4. And she just her health just went right straight down. But she showed a resilience that kept, you know, that diagnosis didn't keep her off the stage. She kept coming back and performing all the way up till the last few days of her life. And the last performance she gave, she did What a Wonderful World, was the last song that she ever sang on the stage. I That always gets me a little bit. But she was on a walker, you know, hardly able to stand. And that's the song she chose to sing. And she sang it. Man, she didn't, you know, she's just days away from the grave, and she gave a performance of a lifetime. It's recorded. In case you're doubting me, it's recorded, which was interesting. I'll talk about that. Now, Professor Rock did a little. He did a covered her, and he did a real good job on it. So I'm going to. It's a two. I got two parts here. While I'm drying my eyes here. Sorry. You know, she always gets me. Anyway, so here's the first part.
All right, we've made it to number one, and I'm telling you, this woman's voice healed me this week. My mind has been so scatterbrained since the surgery. It was a 4-hour surgery, been in a lot of pain, and I've just listened to this voice. It's gotten me through the last 4 or 5 days, and I've never talked about this female artist on this channel before. It's one of my favorites. My wife actually introduced me to her years ago. For this one, I'm going to give you 2 songs, a 2 for 1, 2 hidden gems from this artist. Mostly unknown to the world until after her death. I'm talking about Eva Cassidy and the songs Songbird and Fields of Gold.
And the songbirds keep singing. We walked in fields of gold.
And these performances are absolutely heart-wrenching in the best possible way. Eva Cassidy was described by The Guardian as one of the greatest voices of her generation, and no truer words have ever been spoken. Tragically, she remained virtually unknown outside of her native Washington, D.C. when she died of melanoma in 1996 at just 33 years of age. Now, from an early age, Eva displayed incredible artistic and musical talent, though. When she was 9 years old, her father taught her to play guitar, and she began performing at family gatherings.
For you, among the fields of barley.
Throughout the 80s, Eva Cassidy worked with a number of bands while also holding down day jobs as a propagator at a plant nursery and a furniture painter in Annapolis, Maryland. She had a diverse repertoire spanning jazz and blues and folk and gospel and pop, and various record companies showed real interest in signing her. But all the offers required Eva to pigeonhole herself within a single style, something she adamantly refused to do, no matter the money. In January of 96, Cassidy recorded the album Live at Blues Alley, about which the Washington Post later commented that she could sing anything and make it sound like the only music that mattered.
My darling.
And that's the perfect way to say it. Whenever Eva Cassidy sang, she made it sound like the only music that ever mattered. Now, during a promotional event for the album in July 96, Eva Cassidy noticed an ache in her hips. Now, she attributed this to stiffness from painting, but the pain persisted. A few weeks later, she was diagnosed with melanoma. And by the time of her diagnosis, the cancer had spread throughout her body. Eva Cassidy died just a few months later on November 2nd, 1996. And despite having a flawless, transcendent cover of Songbird in her catalog, one that somehow even surpasses Christine McVie's version. And if you don't believe me, listen to the whole thing. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
And the songbirds are singing, and I love you, I love you, I love you.
Eva Cassidy was a complete failure by music industry standards during her lifetime. She was famously shunned by major labels who loved her voice but didn't know how to market her because She refused to be pigeonholed into a single genre like jazz or folk. Her producer Chris Biondo stated that Blue Note Records president Bruce Lundvall later called it a very bad mistake that they had passed on her. And actually, it's funny. One of the most beloved and successful posthumous tracks in history was recorded by a singer who actually had to use money that was gifted to her from an aunt to pay for the initial pressing of the recording that contained Songbird. It's because the entire industry thought that Eva Cassidy wasn't a commercial asset.
Wasn't a commercial asset. So one of the reasons that they gave for passing up putting her albums out was that she refused to be pigeonholed to a genre. Now, years later, Adele benefited from her success because Adele was never asked to stick to a genre like they were asking Eva to. But this was back in the days of A&R where everything had to fit a certain category, or they wouldn't know what to put them on the charts. And so people that kind of were not easily put in a category were often left on the outside. You see this a lot, especially around the 90s, the mid to late 90s, because that's when there's a shift in the music industry to where from radio play, the way the radio play had been going up to that time, everything was like kind of like fragmented. But then the Clean Air Act, I think it was the Clinton administration that kind of got that pushed through, and suddenly lone entities were controlling vast swaths of the radio market. And so because there was not that fragmentation had kind of been streamlined around this time, a lot of acts that weren't able to play the game, that weren't able to cram themselves into a kind of distinctive genre were left on the outside. And they begged her. They could not get it through the upper echelon that never listened to music, but was all about the Benjamins, basically, because it became so much more of a money making operation at that time. The artistic almost went completely out the door. And so you hear this woman who's got a once in a lifetime distinctive voice that literally anyone that heard her was absolutely entranced by her. She was selling out those clubs. She opened for the Neville Brothers at one point. So everybody, even bigger musicians that had heard her, were trying to kind of like get her into the industry. And yet, because she refused to bend her interpretation into any box that she was offered, and it's because she said, "I can't sing anything I don't feel." And in the songs that she could feel were kind of denied genre. I mean, she didn't all feel. While she did a beautiful version of "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," it might be my favorite version of all time. But that's like a show tune, right? And yet at the same time, Songbird by Fleetwood Mac, Christine McVie in particular, and Fields of Gold, a Sting song, and she also blues and jazz. She had a very famous blues man in the DC area who she did a duet with. And he he was about 30, 40 years older than her, and he was in awe of her. He's like, I've never heard anybody interpret music like she interprets music. So it's like, so if somebody's this effervescent, so incredibly beautiful music wise, then why in the world didn't the music industry say, well, we've got to make a concession here. We've got to, we've got to, we've got to put the calculator down and just go with our hearts here, which used to happen. There were times in the past where somebody like Cyndi Lauper, who nobody was sure what she was when she first, when she started her solo career, but they made a concession for her because they just thought she was she was something different. And they were like, okay, I believe in this. And so Cyndi Lauper had a career. But here we are 10 years later, and somebody who I think can easily either, equal Cyndi Lauper or maybe even, blow her out of the water in some ways, could not get the same concession. And it's because the way the industry changed over that time period. And MTV had a lot to do with that because, like I said, she wasn't homely in any way, shape, or form, but she wasn't the typical like video babe, Ann Wilson of Heart, Ann and Nancy Wilson of Heart were pretty much illustrative of this issue. Nancy was beautiful, blonde. She had she had the sex kitten body, but Anne had one of the singular voices in all of music. Ann Wilson can just belt it. And yet, I mean, you listen to Alone, every hair on your back comes up. I mean, she's incredible. And yet, when the video came out, you see Nancy writhing around, dancing around with her guitar, and then Anne way back here. And then you see Nancy dancing around, doing arching her back and everything like that. And then close up of Anne. I mean, watch these videos. Like We Can't Go On, Never, was it called Never, maybe? I don't know. I can't remember the name of the song, but the videos were just like crazy like that. And Anne it just destroyed her self-esteem. But here's a person who might have one of the top 5 female voices in all history, and yet they're like, well, she's a fat chick. She's a healthy size. I mean, you look at her today and she's just voluptuous. Okay. They would have called Marilyn Monroe a fat chick in the 80s. Marilyn freaking Monroe. She was the same dress size that Ann Wilson was. And yet they have like close-ups of Ann Wilson, Ann Wilson way back here, shadows or whatever. But here's Eva Cassidy. She's a healthy size. She's a beautiful woman, but she's not kittenish beautiful, right? And so basically because Cyndi Lauper was cute and she's a little pixie looking woman. And so Cyndi Lauper could kind of get away with being unique. But, Ava just didn't fit their beauty standards. And you look at Eva Cassidy, and any normal person would say that's a pretty woman right there. And just look at the pictures and you'll know what I'm talking about. And yet they couldn't get past the fact that if you're going to make a concession, she either has to be very attractive or she has to be marketable. Either she has to be marketable or her music has to be marketable. And that was the calculation. And because they didn't consider her attractive enough to be marketable, and the fact she refused to stick to one genre, and so they couldn't stick her in a slot somewhere, she went unsigned. And so, like he said, the very first album that she put out, she had to borrow. She basically had to use money that she got from her aunt to do it. So we're talking about one of the greatest singers that has ever lived, and because of the state of the industry, she had to crowdfund, or she had to self-fund her first album. Now, that album, though, it's interesting because all the albums that she self-funded later kind of came back and bit the industry on the butt. And they didn't get hardly any of the money out of it. But that's the second part of the story here.
like never before.
Crazy thing is that when she finally did get a record deal, Eva's label put together her album almost as more or less a tribute before she died. They were well aware of her impending death.
'Cause I feel that when I'm with you.
Actually, Blick Street Records president Bill Straw was introduced to Eva Cassidy's music by fellow artist Grace Griffith shortly before Eva's death from cancer. Straw listened to Eva's tapes, including Songbird, and immediately knew that they had to be heard. So one of the best singers ever, and he's absolutely right. However, the dramatic and heartbreaking part is what he recalled next. He said, "I knew she was going to be famous, and I also knew that she would never live to enjoy it." This incredible premonition meant the label's Songbird album, which contained her definitive rendition of that track, was purposefully assembled in 1998 as a retrospective to introduce a ghost to the world, making its 6 times platinum, multi-million selling global success all the more tragic. Her compilation album Songbird reached #1 on the UK album charts, and her posthumous releases after that have sold in excess of 12 million copies. Eva definitely opened the door for Norah Jones and others who couldn't be pigeonholed but became majorly successful from their talent.
I feel that when I'm with you, walking fields of gold.
Her renditions of Songbird and Fields of Gold are just stunning. Eva Cassidy's voice was a gift to the world that we almost missed entirely.
Since those summer days.
These hidden gems deserve to be heard by everyone. Her interpretations of these songs, they're among the most beautiful recordings ever made.
As you lie in fields of gold.
Like I said, my wife got me into Eva many years ago, and I'm so grateful for her work. And, she sold 12 million copies of just a couple of songs that she recorded. She only had a handful of songs that she actually recorded before her death. It was such a missed opportunity that they didn't sign her earlier, and what a loss. Had Eva lived, I think she would have been one of the greatest ever. Her voice is just transcendent, universal. It's glorious. I can't say enough about it.
Like never before.
Now, her version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I tried to find a way to play it, and YouTube just would not let me do it. I cut it down to like just a really great part at the end, and bounced off the copyright. I changed the look of it. I altered that, bounced off the copyright. To the extent to that, if I even tried to play it, you would probably see a blank screen. And it would probably block me universally everywhere across it. And that's what it was threatening. So I was trying to figure out a way to play it. And, because if I was just on Rumble or if I was just on X, then I would play it. But unfortunately, I'm simulcasting to YouTube, and YouTube is basically destroying any attempt of smaller creators to play music. Uh, and that includes people like Professor Rock, Rick Beato, and many, many others who have had their channels taken down or struck. I think Davey 504 said goodbye the other day because of it. And it is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, when it was a physical thing, that's one thing. Maybe you could do 3 minutes and you've met terms of service or you met fair use. And maybe you got taken down, but you could just immediately get it looked at and you could get it back up. But now it's algorithms. It's all AI and algorithms, and it's automatic. It's just there's no human even looking at this stuff anymore. So there's really no way. And so I highly encourage you. And it's Eva, not Ava. I've been saying Ava, and her website's, her website just kind of like, please say it right. Please say that right. Eva rhymes with diva. Eva. Okay, it's Eva Cassidy. But we're talking about the interesting thing that happened was that she didn't break in the United States. She broke overseas. Let's see, I had it pulled up. Okay. Now, after Cassidy's death, a local folk singer introduced the Blues Alley recording to Bill Straw from the label Blick Street Records, and he approached the Cassidy family to put together a new album. And in 1998, compilation of new tracks from Cassidy's 3 released recordings was assembled into a CD called Songbird. Now, the CD lingered in relative obscurity for 2 years until being given airplay on BBC Radio 2, firstly by Paul Jones and then by Mike Harding, but most famously by Terry Wogan on his, I'm probably saying that wrong, probably Wogan maybe, but it's on his wide-reaching show Wake Up Wogan, following recommendation by his producer Paul Walters. This album sold more than 100,000 copies in the following months. The New York Times spoke of her as silken soprano voice with a wide and seemingly effortless range, unerring pitch, and a gift for phrasing that at all times was heart-stoppingly eloquent. Now, before Christmas of 2000, BBC's Top of the Pops 2 aired a video of Cassidy performing a song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which resulted in Songbird climbing steadily up the UK charts over the next few weeks. ITV's Tonight with Trevor McDonald aired a feature on Cassidy just as the album topped the chart. So, a shot at Blues Alley by a friend in camcorder. The same night the album was recorded, the video became the most requested video ever shown on Top of the Pops 2. Alexis Petridis in The Guardian wrote, "There's an undeniable emotional appeal in hearing an artist you know died in obscurity singing a song about hope." Sorry. Anyway, there's been several recordings since. They found a lot of music that she recorded. They were able to remaster, put strings on, arrange it, and several albums have been released since. And right now, she is one of the top-selling female artists solo female artists of all time in the UK, but her worldwide sales equal 12 million. 12 million. But her family has taken solace in the fact that she would have been miserable being famous. She was a loner. She was quiet. She didn't talk very much. As a matter of fact, when she performed, she basically would do song and then she would accept the applause and then she would go to the next song. She wasn't really built for stardom. She just wanted to sing. She just wanted people to hear her songs. And so the way that she became famous was not from personality, was not from her beauty, was not from her from her some marketing ploy. The way she became famous was people heard her sing. And because they responded to the hearing her sing, that's where the fame came from, or at least the fame overseas. I don't think she's famous enough here. I really don't think she's famous enough in America for, when you hear her work. I mean, they think somebody like Ariana Grande has an incredible voice. Some of the modern pop starlets that they've got. And nobody could hold a candle to the genuine warmth and the pitch perfection that Eva had. She was technically perfect, but yet it's what she did with the pitch, the way she sang a note, or the way she phrased something, that the way she used her head voice to emphasize. I mean, when you listen to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I mean, when she hits her upper range early in the song, she's using her head voice, But when she goes to that high note at the end and she just belts it, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning, and I wish I could play that for you, but we're restricted to what we are restricted to these days. But I highly recommend. It's really easy to find her stuff. It'll come right up. She's got videos that are in the millions. And so when YouTube is not in any way, shape, or form suppressing her. But you have to hear Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You have to hear Fields of Gold, Songbird. People Get Ready. It's an incredible version of People Get Ready. And What a Wonderful World. But her blues stuff that she did with her duet with a blues man in Blues Alley she held her own with him, man. She was holding her own. She also had a very distinctive way of picking a guitar that's been very influential. There's um, a lady artist in England who basically learned to play guitar. She's pretty popular over there. I can't remember her name though, but she's learned to play guitar from watching Eva Cassidy videos because she had a very distinctive way of it's like a modified Travis picking, if you know anything about guitar. But had a it was almost banjo way of picking, but it was very distinctive, very distinctive. You especially hear it on Somewhere Over the Rainbow. She has this breakdown in the middle of it. That's really beautiful that she did on guitar. But I'm talking about a ghost here, but in a way, she's more alive than she ever has been because the legacy she left behind. Now, she may have died in obscurity, but that should give everybody hope that is producing art on a lower level, or that are not exactly in the eye of the mainstream, whatever that is anymore. But you're seeing more and more often people like Ava. If Ava had been alive today, she would have put her stuff on YouTube, and it would have gone viral, and everybody in the world would know her name. She came in right before that was a possibility. So she died in, I think it was 95. Let me make sure. 96. She was 33 years old. She died in 96. And just before file sharing became a thing, just before it was possible to go viral. And I really honestly think that a lot less falls through the cracks these days because of the international reach that you can have from putting your music online. And you have every opportunity. Now, they've tried to destroy the reaction in the reactors. They've really done their best to destroy the reactors. That a lot of these restrictions are because they're trying to destroy reactors, because reactors were making it possible for people to learn about these things and to share them with each other. And there's something really wonderful about watching a black man hear rock some of the rock and roll that I grew up with, and for the first time, and come to the same conclusion, the exact same conclusion that we did. There's something very uniting about humanity. Uh, to see somebody react to something that is normal to you or that is common to you, and then wind up loving it like you do. And so that kind of verifies that, yes, they are great. It's not just my bias. And that's one thing I loved about reaction channels. I mean, I used to watch a whole bunch of them, but there's not many left. And all the restrictions that are placed on reaction channels has just been awful. But a lot of people, there's been a lot of reactors that have found Eva Cassidy, sorry, did it again, sorry, Eva Cassidy, and have been absolutely stunned. I had a friend of mine used to be on this channel from time to time. He was the dinosaur avatar early on. If for the long-term people, he used to have a dinosaur avatar. I mean, literal physical moving dinosaur. It's pretty crazy. But I told him about Eva Cassidy, and he was he's a pretty cynical guy, and he's like, there's no way anybody can be that good. There's no way that I said, you're exaggerating this, because I said this is the greatest female voice I've ever heard. And he's like, well, maybe you haven't heard a lot of people. And I was like, I've heard a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people. And I didn't talk to him for the next few days. And he got back to me and he's like, I just went down the rabbit hole. And he's like, I think you might be right. I can't stop listening to her. And it's like his reptilian heart, I guess. He grew several sizes that day. I don't know. But when people ask me who the greatest female singer, I say Eva Cassidy. And when they're like, who's Eva Cassidy? I love saying, check her out. And I have yet to have anybody not come back to me and say, oh, you're overrating her, or you were wrong about that, or I don't think she's all that good. I've never had anybody say that. Never, not once. Even the contrarians, like my lizard friend, even the people that are liable to just out of their own arrogance try to dispute me. And yet every single one of them always winds up being a fan. Every single one of them. And so when I say this is a bunny recommend, this is one of the highest bunny recommends I've ever given. If you've never heard Eva Cassidy, EVACASSIDY, Cassidy. Look her up and thank me later, but do it today. Because if you don't have that voice in your life, if you've never heard that voice, then you can't properly determine what is good. You know, you need somebody good enough to set the standard or set the your bar. And because of Eva, my bar is pretty darn high. And I have to say thank you to my friend Craig for introducing me to her. And I wish that more people did know about her, but I'm finding more and more people online. Every time I bring her up, I'm finding more and more people. It's almost like a secret handshake or something. When somebody's like, "Oh, this person's the greatest female vocalist," and I'm like, "Yeah," but then there's Eva Cassidy, and then I'll have a bunch of people comment like, "Oh my God, you're absolutely right." Yeah, she could not have handled being a star, of being popular. She just wanted people to hear her voice. She just wanted to sing for people. That's all she ever wanted out of life. She got her wish, but not enough people know yet. And so the bunny is thinking about Eva Cassidy today because however small my reach is, if one person within watching this video types in that name, EvaCassidy, and goes down that rabbit hole and it enriches their life, then I would have done them a favor. So make sure you check her out if you don't know. And if you do know, fire her up and enjoy her all over again. Anyway, R.I.P. Eva, R.I.P. Drunk Craig. You are all both missed. And thank you for coming today. That's Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Follow White Rabbit. Bye, everybody.